2, 1.
Good morning. This is Karen Atwood, Director of Consumer Credit Counseling, and I'm here with you today to talk to you about you and your money, making it feel more meaningful. But money is a very fleeting thing. 1 minute it's with you, the next minute it's off somewhere else, and you have to curtail it and get it back to doing what you need to have it done. I have two guests with me today from Community Bank. I've been with Community so long, I'm ready to say Community National Bank, but it's Community Bank and Trust. Ryan Daniels is with me. Ryan is a board member, and I've known Ryan for a few years now. And Bruce Jacobs, is the Vice President of Commercial Lending. Community is one of our local banks, and probably the local bank anymore, since most of the banks today are regional, national, and there isn't the kind of control we used to have with a local bank. What you want to do when you get dealing with something bigger than what you can handle from a single paycheck is you need a banking partner. You need somebody who's going to know you, who's going to listen to your situation, and who's going to help you decide what is in your best interest. Now that does not mean somebody who's going to say, here's a loan, go enjoy, because that may not be in your best interest. A lender will help you figure out what is good based on your, I won't use the word assets, but based on what you have and what you can do with it. We all start the same way. We start with very little and work our way up. Some people have more, some never will have more, but typically those that never will have more haven't been able to do something with what they have. So let's start with you, Ryan, and you tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you do at Community.
Sure. Well, thanks for having us. I've been with Community Bank and Trust now for a little over 5 years. I am an account executive, so working on with customers that come in, opening up new accounts, maintenance on their existing accounts, consumer loans, and recently here been working on some mortgage loans. So that's kind of what I do.
And I'm Bruce Jacobs, and I've been with Community since 2004. Started as a branch manager on the retail side. And then in 2008, moved to the commercial lending side of the bank, and just really work with small businesses that have a dream. They want to start up. They want to put together their business plan and finance that first building or truck or whatever. Up to a larger type of a loan. So a lot of our customers are all across the board, and what we really try to do is find something that is customized to each individual business person and their ideas, and try to make our information fit around their idea and finance it that way. And so I think we're really a user-friendly bank, and we try to serve our customers very well.
When one decides to go to a bank, many times they feel they have to do whatever the bank says. And could you tell us a little bit about the interview process, what you expect when someone comes in to see you, or what you want to tell them without overwhelming them?
Sure. I mean, I think depending, no matter if it's on the retail side or the commercial side, I mean, initially you're just sitting down with somebody. You want to get as much information as you can, asking all the questions, getting all the numbers, all the, any of the information that's not numbers, because we take all that into consideration. So getting as much information as you can, and then we can sit down and, we've got our policies, our guidelines, things that we have to abide by too. So we look at all of that and try to fit what our guidelines say, what the customer needs, try to customize, something for each one of those.
And do people ever come in without photo IDs?
Sure. We do need some sort of form of photo ID to open up a new account, do those kinds of things. US Patriot Act came out a few years ago, and that requires us to have certain information in order to open up an account or do a loan or anything like that. So
I know people have felt like they were invaded because of it, but really it's a safety, because you really don't want somebody doing things in your name with money that shouldn't be in use. And I know when we first had to go down and sign papers, because we were depositing $10,000 in cash way back in the beginning when we took it, it's just like, but why do we have to explain? Well, it makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And so what? If you don't have anything to hide, you sign it, you let the people doing the paperwork take care of it.
yeah, there's more and more paperwork involved nowadays, but it all comes down to protecting the consumers. So as long as, and we try to explain that and say we're not doing this just to do it. It's really in your best interest, and hopefully they understand.
Before we had computers, when it was all paper, you could expect a bunch of paper, and you'd come home with basically a ream of paper when you went to the bank. Well, it's not a whole lot different today, even with computers. It is nice to be able to go on electronically, pull up your information. I really wonder how much money the banks have lost in overdrafts due to that. It's a wonderful thing, being able to stop yourself from going under because you see it's about to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Those more and more today, the technology aspect of the banking world is becoming huge. Keeping up with computers, but now on your phones, the mobile apps. Banking's become more and more right at the tip of your finger. You know, no matter where you're at, you don't have to physically walk into a bank branch anymore to take care of your banking needs.
I don't understand the mobile apps. I mean, mobile apps sound wonderful, but I cannot understand making a deposit with my cell phone or transferring money, but they say it happens, right?
Us, absolutely. You can, they got the technology now. You take a picture of your check you want deposited and send it through your phone, and there you go.
It's just unreal. And, you know, you have to look at it and say, and where is it gonna go? Because this has got to only be part of the future. It is not the future.
Things in the technology world on the banking side are, like I said, they're growing, and each, you know, just trying to keep up with it every day. It's that the technology aspect is a big part of the banking industry right now.
But the basics remain the same. The person has to have the income or the sources of income, if it's not work, in order to be able to grow an asset in the bank, in order to be able to leverage that. And leveraging your money in the bank to produce something greater is what this is all about. If you want a car, you cannot go into a dealership and say, here's $500, I get more money next week, give me a new car. It's not going to happen. You need to have somebody help you through that. And with buying a car, a lot of people this time of the year are out looking for cars. I don't think a lot of them understand when they go into a dealership, the dealer may say, we'll help you find the money. And they go and apply to all these places, and you can have 10, 11 places on your credit history that you applied to for funds that you never did, but because you went and said yes to a car dealer, it's there. So we tell people, if you're looking for a car, your best bet is to go into your bank or credit union, talk to them about what you're interested in buying, get the blue book on it, and then what can you afford, and determine something that way. Then when you go into the dealership and they say, let me find you some money, you say, no, I'm going to get it from my bank, and I can get it for, you know, let's say $18,000, not a dime more. All right, you're set there. So it's not going to be large amounts, it's not going to be 10, 20 places, someplace in California financing your car and all of that. So you want to do a few things to protect yourself, but you're going to start by knowing your banker. And if you don't know your banker, you have a little problem.
I think that simply empowers the consumer to be more in the driver's seat in that process, because they know what their credit is, they know how much they can afford, and so when they are speaking with that car salesperson, they are ready or kind of running the program as opposed to the car salesman running their program. So I think it helps them have much more clout in the buying process. It puts them more in control of their money, simply put, and also they don't have all those inquiries like you mentioned on their credit report. You know, they might have 10, 11 inquiries through the indirect lending process, through the car dealership, and that simply does lower their credit score.
Yes, and we don't want to do that. And if you do, you can come to Consumer Credit and we will pull a credit check for you. And if you find there are things on there that are going to lower it, we'll sit down and help you figure out how to get to that lender. Maybe it's a medical, although medical usually doesn't hold things back anymore. Maybe there's some debt out there you didn't even realize. Get it cleaned up before you go for a loan, and give it a little bit of time after cleanup. If you've waited this long for a car, you can wait a few months longer. And that's all about discipline. Just as that budget you put together to see how much you have to spend is about discipline, so are these purchases.
That's an awesome comment, because your credit takes a little bit of homework, it takes a little bit of maintenance, just like your car or your house does. You gotta look at it, and if there's some items on there you don't love, work on getting those items off of there. Either dispute those items or pay them and have those things paid and satisfied. And then give it some time, like you mentioned, Karen, to let that then reflect on your credit score. That will go up.
Yes. So you can go to annualcreditreport.com and get your credit information, or you can call our office, 234-0661, and have an appointment with a counselor to go through it. Because it's worth the time if you're getting ready to buy, because you really don't want to go in to see a lender and be embarrassed by what's on there. So get it taken care of ahead of time, then go in and you'll make a better decision all the way around. Because maybe that car that you thought was so great isn't really so great.
Well, you know, when we make loans too, I mean, we're in the business of making loans, but so often we do a lot of teaching with it too. So when somebody walks in and we sit there and through that initial interview, we get an application, take down all their information. From there, I mean, if there are some things on the credit report that need to be fixed, or you know, whatever it might be, there's a lot of teaching that goes involved on our side too, that we try to help the consumer as much as possible and say, we need to get these things fixed, here's how to do that, the steps to do it, trying to get them ready. And like you said, going to a dealership or something to get a car, they can put you into a loan possibly. It might not be in the best interest. So I mean, we like to take down into consideration length of term on the car, you know, the car loan term. I mean, you can get your payments down if you go out a lot of years, but that might not always be the best.
And I think in today's world, unfortunately, a lot of decisions are kind of related back to someone's credit score. So it's a number, and so we need to understand what that number is, because your credit score a lot of times will relate to the interest that you pay. Credit score, the higher your credit score is, results, the bank sees that as a lower risk to them. A lower risk to a bank means a better rate of interest. If you don't know what your score is, or you have wrong information on your credit report, your score will be lower. You'll probably get a loan like Ryan said, but it might be at a higher rate of interest based on that apparent risk the bank sees. So, like you said, Karen, you know what your credit is, you know what your score is, you raise your score up, that results in hopefully a better rate of interest for you.
Yes, and it is so important to know, to be knowledgeable about what your credit score is. If you have a budget, if you pay attention to the budget, if you buy based on the budget, you probably know what your score is. And it's probably going to be pretty good. But if you don't, about a budget, you don't have one, you pay a bill when you get a collection call, you're probably gonna have pretty poor credit rating. And then before you go to buy or attempt to buy something, you're gonna have to make some major moves to make changes. That's spending habits. And spending habits are so important if you're gonna grow financially. You just won't grow financially. You will not obtain good assets, things you're appreciative of, unless you obey the rules of finances.
And that relates to more than just buying a car. That could relate, a lot of insurance companies base insurance rates on someone's credit approval or how much you're gonna pay. They might write up a policy due to bad credit. Employers sometimes look at credit scores. Credit score is really used for a lot of things outside of the immediate, house or car purchase. And so we really need to give it a lot of respect and concern to make sure that we're protecting it, that we're reviewing it, we're doing what it takes to make sure that we're maintaining it.
And again, the bank you deal with, the bank or the credit union that you deal with, is your first step beyond the personal in leveraging in order to get cars, homes, all of those things. Yes, with very low income, you can buy a home. But even with Habitat for Humanity, they require that you have credit. And many times, people will come in, but they don't have MasterCard and Visa. They haven't purchased, especially people that have come from other countries. So we say, then we want to see non-traditional credit. How are you paying your rent, your utilities, your telephone, your cable, your water? Are they paid? Do you pay them? Do you pay them faithfully? Or are they not? If they aren't, then we say we want to see some history. We want to make sure you're going to do what you should to stay in that home. And the same thing is true of you when you go to purchase a home for your own. It isn't just the payment that can replace your rent. A lot of people feel that is it, and it isn't. There's a lot of things that come along. What about the furnace that goes out? What about the roof? What about, oh, it's cold in here, I really wanted 80 in the winter and 70 in the summer. What am I going to do to insulate it? Well, those are your things to do. That's not your landlord's. So in order to have enough cushion to do that, you need someone to be behind you in your purchase, not just the original house, but you need to be able to leverage to get something in order to make your home more comfortable. So this, having a banker there, somebody to help you in your next step, is so important. And you interview your banker, you go check them out, see what you think, talk about it, because it should be a family situation, and you should be ready to share that with family members so that this becomes your bank. I'm sure you have many families where the people one after another banker, the father, the son, all of that. And that's from what they learned at home about that bank, and I think it's wonderful, and it says a lot to your institutions. So as we look at, and when you talk about credit, you talk about credit not just for loans, but anytime somebody, if they're going to give you credit cards, they'll base those on your credit score.
That's right.
And they'd be more than anxious to give you a 26% credit card, because they know if that's what your credit is, you'll let it go to the limit, and then you'll pay $70 late payment charges and 26% interest. And you'll go on for 6-7 years until you can file bankruptcy. And what does that do to your credit? That takes it all the way down again.
That's right.
So I'm sure if you go in to see a lender and you've had a bankruptcy on your credit, not a bankruptcy due to medical or a bankruptcy due to some major issue like that, but a bankruptcy due to non-payment of bills, they're probably going to tell you, I think you should probably use major transport or get a ride with a friend, or it's been nice knowing you go find somebody else. One of those on the corner that says, buy your car here and pay here. consider those dangerous.
It is interesting when someone wants to build credit, and so we say, well, you should have a credit card. But then we say, but don't use it too much, so we have to have that fine line there, and so I think people should have a credit card. I think it's, you travel, you really need a major credit card to purchase airline tickets or something like that. But I think the key is to don't spend more than what you can pay off in a short amount of time. So don't revolve a balance for a long time, and you know what your limits might be on that. But really, when folks get debt on a credit card and they just revolve from month to month to month and just pay their interest, that's really a bad scenario for them. If they have a credit card and they use it properly and they use it that month and they get a bill and they pay it off in full every month, I think that builds good credit. And so I think that's probably good for their credit rating. But they have to manage that process.
For years, the credit card bill would just say minimum payment due and total due. And then they're gibberish that you couldn't read anyway. Today, it doesn't just say that. It has minimum payment, but then it has a statement on there. If you pay the minimum payment, it is going to take you so many months to pay this bill off, which is kind of good. I don't know how many people even read it, but it does at least give you some idea of how long it's going to take. Credit cards are good, but I'm always telling people, get one through a local institution. I like that because if you don't pay your bill, they cut you off. Capital One will give you a second one, or a third one, or a fourth one. They'll give you 9 different credit cards, all at like a limit of 300. So every one that you go over, you get slapped with your late payment. And they won't consolidate them. They won't take them into one so that it's just one large amount and you could consider one over limit or something. That's a game. But I feel with our local institutions, a bank or a credit union, if you can get a card through them, they're very watchful. They don't want the loss. So they would stop it. A credit card is a great thing to have, but you do need to use it judiciously. Certain things. Don't go to McDonald's, you can do that. Don't go to Panera Bread, you can do that. Those things should be cash. They shouldn't be put on credit cards. And I know the kids in the high schools, now they can go down to their, those fast food places and put it on a credit card. I think we're teaching young people it's too easy. So anyway, but it's good to have credit cards. Have 1, 2 at the outside, and treat them properly, and you're just going to do nothing to build credit. Many people feel that you have to have a lot of income in order to have good credit. Well, that's probably the furthest thing from the truth, because if you have a lot of income, there's a lot of people out there to get it. And the more opportunity for people to get your money, that means the more credit cards you could be holding, the more due dates, the more opportunities to pay late, and there goes the credit score. So it's how you handle the money that you do get that counts. Again, our office is at 1003 West 4th in Waterloo, Consumer Credit Counseling. We're available 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday, and Friday 9 to 12, to help you with your debts and with questions that you may have on buying or on credit cards. We offer programs in the evening at Ridgeway Place. It's on, I think it's one Wednesday a month. And that's on budgeting, paying your bills on time, helping you learn what you need to do to be financially ready to face the world and to make your assets grow. We have offices in Des Moines, Dubuque, Mason City, and Waterloo, and as well as a website, Consumer Credit Counseling, cccsIA.org. Go online and read about the budgeting information that's available. Seek our counselors. Get some help before it's too late. Typically, people come in to see us when it is too late. There's not that much that we can do. Or they're coming in for a pre-bankruptcy counseling. And many don't understand why they have to go for counseling when they're going to file bankruptcy. The idea of the bankruptcy law was that the only people that would file would be people that really needed to file. And they want to make sure when you come in for counseling that your budget is reviewed and that this is the last resort. This is what you should be doing. And for many, that is. However, if you don't have any assets to lose, you don't have any house, you don't have any car, you just got a bunch of debts, and your income is already protected, you don't need to be filing bankruptcy. You don't need to be spending all that money on attorneys. A no to the phone calls will do it for you. Our counselors will help you figure this out and help you, and there are some letters that legal aid will write on your behalf to creditors. So let our counselors help you figure this out so that your life is less filled with stress. Okay, again, this is Karen Atwood, and today Ryan Daniels from Community Bank has been with us along with Bruce Jacobs. We have been talking about banking and the value of the banker to you and your family, and the teaching that you too will do when you bank successfully. When you handle your checking account successfully, if you go online, you see to it that you're up to date, that your money always goes in. When you do your tax return at the end of the year, you can point to your bank account and you know this is where your money was, this is what you did with it. It's a good, fulfilling feeling to be able to look back on what you did with your money and know. Otherwise, a person is just saying, I made it and it's gone, now what? I guess we have a new year ahead of us. So, credit counseling is available to you to come by phone, internet, in person. Spend the time talking to the counselors. If you are ready to go to talk to a bank, give Ryan or Bruce a call, and I'm sure they will sit down and talk to you about any purchase you might want to make. Their phone number is 433-4989, and commercial 215-8267. So you give Community Bank a call if you're interested in talking about a bank, and if you want to give us a call and talk about counseling, we're happy to work with you. 234-0661. You have a good day and a good week. Bye. That was a little bit much. Oh, this is nice. I thank you both for this. This is very, very helpful.
Thanks for having us.
Sometimes we can come back and talk about fraud. If you'd like to.
Yes.
Help people know kind of what it is, what's been going on, if they're a victim, how to fix it, some trends we're seeing. It's pretty interesting, some topics.
So that's a real big topic, and I think we do need, it goes from so many different angles, but, and in the past, people have been so easy to, letting their things lay around. I think today they're a lot more aware of it.
We have a lot of good tips of what not to do, to how to avoid being a victim, and if you're a victim, it's a pain to fix.
I've never used a debit card. As old as I am, I probably never should have admit it. But my son-in-law went down to a bank, one of these mobile places, and there was a card with a person's PIN number on it, account number and PIN number. And he was so broke at the time. He said he looked at that and he thought to himself, whoa, But he turned it into the bank. But it's just, and that would have been a classic case. It could have been about $500. He would have been happy.